you say that, man. I was literally about to say.
But some people goes the other way, right? Some people, they see someone quit and they're like, oh, dude, if he's quitting, I'm quitting.
I can't even relate.
Yeah.
I mean,
I saw it. I saw it happen.
And not from some, dude, I'm not like some big, this is not from some egotistical perspective. I say I can't relate. I'm not wired like that. I'm wired like, call it corny, but Highlander, like, you know how he would absorb like the strength of like, that's kind of, but like, when a guy would quit, I felt like I absorbed what was left of his power. And it more like it inspired me. It inspired me to keep going. The fact that I could keep going and that guy couldn't, I was like, okay, it gave me more purpose. Even.
Yeah. That's why you just got to stay hard, man. People are starting to, because if other people start to see you like cracking and they're your troops, they're going to be like, oh no,
right,
this is a bad sign.
Yeah,
Jocko's breaking down. This is not good.
Oh yeah, because we also are like, well, that will never happen with Jocko. So Jocko, don't ever do that. No, don't worry. If you took a knee, we wouldn't let you, or we would just step in for you.
Yeah,
but I don't see that happening.
Not happening. Here, this is what I was actually going to jump right here because when we started this thing off, you talked about this a little bit. The first demand in war is decisive action. So like you were saying, like, hey, you can be the smartest person with a great plan, but if you can't do it, if you can't act on it, everyone, the highest commander and most junior soldier must be aware that omissions and neglects incriminate him more severely than the mistake of choice. So if you decide not to act, you are a worse criminal in the world.
I agree.
Than someone that just makes a bad judgment but moves.
I just disappeared for a second back to Ramadi and thought of that exactly happening, like in real life. Like in those moments when there is things going on, you act and you can maneuver and aggressively solve a problem, even if you make a small mistake. Mm-hmm. It's the default aggressive.
Yes.
It's the complacency. Well, I sit back and articulate. No, I just steamrolled you.
You got to make a call. Now, obviously, I hate having to point this stuff out all the time, but it's the truth. If you just jump and make rash decisions without thinking about them, that's also stupid. You have to let things develop. But this idea of inaction, I mean, it is the worst. That's why, what do people say about inaction is a decision? So like no decision is a bad decision, right? No decision is the worst decision.
No decision is a decision, first of all.
Yeah.
No decision is a decision. And it might be the worst decision. Sometimes no decision, while I watch things develop, might be the right call. Yep. But let's be clear, no decision is a decision.
What I've been trying to teach people lately is like a standard operating procedure for when you don't know what to do. Here's the standard operating procedure for when you don't know what to do. You look at what the situation, you detach, you take a step back, you look at what's unfolding, then you make the smallest decision in the area that you guess is the right direction to move. And then you assess what that did. So you don't just jump off and flank left because you thought that was the right call. No, you go, okay, hey, guys, start pushing left. Okay, so they start moving a little bit. Do they meet major resistance? No? Okay, cool. Continue with a flank. You don't just go flank left, now they run over there, now they're getting flanked, and it's a bad situation. So that's the thing. You make a small decision, the smallest possible decision that you can, but you make a decision. You start moving in the direction that you think is correct.
Assess.
Yes.
Move.
Yes.
Assess.
Assess, move. Yeah, you get in an OODA loop is what you're going to do. Right. You're going to end up in a little OODA loop. But people get afraid of making a big decision. Now, sometimes you have to make a big, bold decision, of course, but people get afraid of making, they can't see, they only want to go 100% in.
Right.
They don't see that they can go 8%. You can go 8% in. Is at the last muster, I think it was at the last muster, someone asked me something about this, but when you say, hey, we want to go explore this new market area, let's buy 3 buildings in that market area and see where it happens. No, that's not what you do. First you do market research, then maybe you put a couple kiosks up on the street corner and see if there's any interest.
Lease some
then
space.
Then maybe you lease some space. Then that's what you do. That's the kind of mentality you can have. You don't need to just be paralyzed by the fact that it's this giant. You break it down into some smaller decisions. Iterative decision making is what I call it.
And to be clear, this is in the I don't know what to do right now.
Yes.
I'm in an unknown position, right? I mean, because we're not talking about sheepishly going in directions here. We're talking about I don't know what to do here, so I will go in the direction that I believe to be the best, but I'm going to take as small a decision as I can.
Yes.
I don't want to take too much ground in the right, because it could be the wrong direction.
Could be the wrong direction.
I'm going to go the direction that I think is right, but in the smallest of a decision that I can make in that direction, and then I'm going to reassess.
Yes, and guess what? If it's the wrong decision, now you know that. If it's the wrong direction, you hit a wall there. Now you just figured that out. Where when you made no decision, you still know which way to go.
That's right.
You go 360 degrees. So when I say, hey, we're going to go 90 degrees, cool. We take a step and we realize there's massive resistance there. Cool. We're going to go 180 degrees. Oh, okay, right on.
You know what's a really good like modern day example of that?
What?
You ever been sitting like using your map like Google Maps or whatever, and if you're not moving in a direction, it sometimes doesn't know which direction you're going in.
Oh, the little arrow just kind of rotates.
It spins, right? So like I step out of a hotel and I'm like, which way am I supposed to go here? Dang it, this thing doesn't even know which way. So, all right, you know what? I think it's that direction is where I'm supposed to go. So I start walking.
Yep.
As soon as I take 10 steps,
Yep.
the map, the arrow orients itself, and it's like, yep, you're going the right way. Sometimes I don't actually.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, no, you went the wrong way, idiot.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I'll turn around and go back the other way.
Or you could have stood there in the door of the hotel blocking the traffic and staring at that compass rotating
and
in
never
circles.
go anywhere.
That is exactly what happens. Yeah. And so that's why you make a small decision. You didn't hail a cab and get in
That's
and
right.
start driving
I didn't
that
start
way.
sprinting down the road. I took 10 steps.
There you
Yeah,
go.
that's right.
That's the way it works. All right. And by the way, I always have to say this. I'm not covering this whole book. This book is online, PDF. You can download it. It's free. I'm not reading the whole thing. There's a bunch of like granularly tactical things inside that we're not going to cover, but we're covering the big stuff, the stuff that's applicable to everything that we do. Next section, section 2, it's a section called leadership. So here we go. Great successes presume boldness and daring preceded by good judgment. Check. We never have at our disposal all the desired forces for decisive action. Newsflash, you're not going to have everything you want all the time. It's not happening. He who will be secure everywhere or who fixes forces in secondary tasks acts contrary to the fundamental task. So if you're trying to do too many things at the same time, we call that prioritize and execute. If you're trying to do all these secondary tasks, you're not focused on the main one, you're going to get crushed. And if you're so dang rooted in your situation, if you're secure everywhere, you're not going to make any progress.
Yeah, man, that's hunker down.
Yeah.
I'm secure. I'm safe.
Hunker down. When you're hunkering down, the enemy's maneuvering on you. That's what's
right.
happening. The weaker force, through speed, mobility, great march accomplishments, utilization of darkness and the terrain to the fullest, surprise and deception, can be the stronger at the decisive area. So boom, that's jiu-jitsu, by the way.
And special forces and everything we do to leverage our numerically smaller force.
Yeah. Time and space must be correctly estimated, favorable situations quickly recognized and decisively exploited. Every advantage over the enemy increases our own freedom of action. And yeah, it's not just special forces, it's not just special operations, it's every military unit. They all do this, if they're good. Rapidity of action in the displacement of troops can be assisted greatly or retarded by the roads and streets, nets, and by the terrain conditions. The season, the weather, the condition of the troops are also of influence. The duration of strategical and tactical operations cannot always be foreseen. You don't know how long something's going to last. Successful engagements often proceed slowly. Often the success of today's battle is first recognized tomorrow. It's an interesting one. Surprise of the enemy is a decisive factor in success. Actions based on surprises are only of great success when we do not permit the enemy to take adequate countermeasures. So you got to follow up. That's why you got to follow up. That's why in striking, you got to throw combinations. You can't just throw one punch. You got to sting them with the jab, and then you got to hit them with the straight, and then you got to come in with the hook. That's what you got to do. You know, it's interesting. The one about often the success of today's battle is first recognized tomorrow. What's interesting about that one, I don't know if you remember this, because I don't know. You might not have been. I might not have engaged you at this level, but when we first started doing sniper overwatches in Ramadi, and I was getting some questions from up the chain of command, they were, "Hey, look, this was after a couple weeks. It was, hey, we get that you're killing some people, but there's no metrics. Like, you've said you've shot 3 IED emplacers. IEDs have not gone down. Like the IED emplacements have not gone down, and." Luckily, I had read the one TAC 24, the counterinsurgency manual, and I had learned from that manual that the average counterinsurgency takes 7 years. So I replied back to the chain of command and said, "Hey, just kind of FYI, we're fighting a counterinsurgency. The average counterinsurgency takes 7 years to achieve victory. We've been doing this for 2.5 weeks. Can I get a little more time to see some metrics on it?"
Right.
So, and that's true. And actually, Colonel McFarland, this was a battle that he had to fight, because here you are, it's a metrics-based, people that are looking at things from a metrics-based level, right? They're saying, okay, in Ramadi, there's 30 enemy attacks a day. And all of a sudden, McFarland rolls in and starts this counterinsurgency, and the enemy attacks go up.
Well, yeah.
And they go up a lot. And so his chain of command's looking at him and go, "What are you doing?
Right.
What are you doing? The enemy attacks are getting worse. Your thing's not working." And he has to explain to them, you know why the enemy attacks are going up? Because we are actually taking ground from them and they're fighting. Yeah. And we're killing them. But this is what's going to happen. So the initial metrics are the reverse of what you want. And that's the way it is. The success of a battle is not always visible today. You have to look at the long-term effects.
Well, we went into the hornet's nest. I mean, it's like, hey, you know what? My kid gets stung by this bee once a year. Well, we're going to go in and get rid of the bee's nest. All right, well, we go in there. Well, you guys got stung like 20 times. Well, yeah, because we went in and we actually are destroying the hornet's nest, so they're stinging us now even more. That's why it went up. And when we're done, though, they're not going to sting us at all. But for now, the numbers went up. That's exactly what happened when we went in there like that.
We used to go after the hornet's nest. It was sort of a test of... when you're 8 years old, it was always a test of courage, basically, because you're going to go in there with a stick and whack that thing and see if you can get it to fall down. And it's like playing piñata. You don't get it on the first shot. Like, it takes a few. So you whack and then you run, and those things come after you.
Right, but then so all of a sudden things go up.
Enemy attacks go up. Right. Yeah, you're getting stung. Like when you go in and hit a hornet's nest with a stick, you're getting stung. Pretty much.
That's what's going to happen.
All right, back to the book. The enemy will likewise endeavor to make use of surprise. Our conduct must take this into consideration. The knowledge of hostile leadership and war principles can influence the decision and aid our battle conduct, but it must never lead to preconceptions. Oh, that's good, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Like, we know what the enemy's going to do, but we don't really know what the enemy's going to do.
That's right.
Hey, they're going to use the laws of combat, but we got to remember that they might step outside the bounds of the laws of combat. Those conditions which facilitate the conduct of war in our land make it more difficult in foreign lands, require consideration. Yeah, it's much easier on your own ground. We've learned that over and over again. In strenuous combat, troops are soon worn out and quickly used up. The forces must receive timely reinforcements in leaders, men, animals, battle needs, and war materials of all kinds. Boys are going to get worn out after a while. The mission and the situation form the basis of action. The mission and the situation form the basis of action. The mission designates the objective to be attained. The leader must never forget his mission. A mission which indicates several tasks easily diverts from the main objective. So once again, prioritize and execute. If you got a bunch of different things, you're not going to achieve the main objective.